All right, what we're going to do is just go through and do one problem in this video that uses the Pythagorean theorem and more importantly uses is going to ask you to draw a visual model for the question. So here is the question. Alexis and Alex are skateboarding. At the skate park, a 32-foot ramp connects a platform with the sidewalk that is at ground level. If the platform is 6 feet above the ground level, what is the distance from the base of the platform to the sidewalk? And so the question is asking you to not just get an answer, but to use a visual model. And I want to make sure it's clear what we expect when we ask for a visual model, because that's part of the problem solving process where you're going to communicate your work. Okay, so a visual model it's basically a picture. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and draw a picture. And here is roughly what this is going to look like. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing my platform, which is a certain distance up. Here is the ground, and I'm going to draw the ramp. Okay, so that's like a sketch, which is a good start, but a few things that we always want you to include with the visual model. The first thing are labels. Okay, so like in this problem, you're given a little bit of information. We're dealing with the platform. So right up here, this is my platform. So I'm going to label that as such. Down here is my sidewalk. So let's go ahead and label that. And then there is my ramp. So I'm going to label this. And with the ramp, you're told the length of the ramp is 32 feet. So let's go ahead and just put 32 feet here. And we're assuming, like on this problem, it says the platform is 6 feet above ground level. So this would be my the distance above ground level, because it says the sidewalk is at ground level. When you're given a length like this, we are making an assumption that this is a 90-degree angle, because you always measure height. Like if I'm going from a point down to a line, just like when you measure the height of a triangle, it always has to make a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that is my picture. So we want labels. We also want to include the lengths, and we want to put the dimensions on there. And also we want to put a variable that represents what we're trying to find. So on this one, we're trying to find the distance from the base of the platform to the sidewalk. Okay, so here is the base of the platform. And then here is the sidewalk. So that is going to be what we're trying to find. And let's just go ahead and call that X. All right, so that would be what my visual model looks like. Labels, it's somewhat to scale. It's got units on the lengths, and I've also got a variable that represents what I'm trying to find. Now I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem and solve for this. So this is going to be x squared plus 6 squared is equal to 32 feet squared. So x squared plus 36 is equal to, this is where I'd probably be a little bit lazy, get out my calculator, which is 1,024, take away 36. And that is going to give me, let's see here, I'd be a lot better off just working this out mentally, but I don't quite trust myself. That is going to be 988. Okay, and of course the last step is you have to take the square root to get rid of the square on both sides. So x is equal to, now the square root of 988, that would be an exact answer. But when we're dealing with story problems, you don't no one ever says like, I'm standing square root of 988 feet away from something. You would actually take, and you'd want to, in this case, turn that into to actually find the square root. And so this one works out to be 31.432, and it keeps on going. It's an irrational number. And again, frequently people will ask, well, how accurate do I need to be? If it doesn't tell you in the directions, usually I think a safe bet is to the hundredths place. And with a problem like this, you always want to finish by writing your answer in a complete sentence. So I would say the base of the platform is 31.43 feet from, I'll squeeze it in here, the sidewalk. So, in conclusion, what you need to do when you do the visual model, make sure that you label it, okay, related to the problem. So when I say related to the problem, I mean like we're using the same language, platform and sidewalk, all that. You also want to make sure that you put in the given lengths, including the units and an unknown variable of what you're trying to find. And you want it to be somewhat accurate. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to get a ruler out and draw it perfectly to scale. But like on this one, clearly the 6 is shorter than 32. And really, I could have done this more to scale. I could have made that 32 longer, like when I drew it, or I could have made the 6 shorter. But always think about like, is my answer reasonable? And so I got an answer of 31.43 feet. Yeah, that's reasonable. Okay, it's you definitely don't want the answer to be longer than the hypotenuse in this problem. So that to me that seems like a reasonable answer.